Alright, this video is for the second split the middle extra practice. We're going to do 3 problems from here. So the first thing I want to point out is the directions say to factor each of the following completely and always look for a GCF first. So when I look at this trinomial, 4d squared plus 16d plus 7, I have to decide, 4, 16, and 7, do they have anything in common? It turns out, other than 1, they don't, so I'm not going to pull out a GCF here. So I am going to jump right to splitting the middle. I multiply the 4 and the 7, the first and the last term. The first and the last numbers. 4 and 7 multiply to 28. Positive 28. So I need 2 numbers that are either positive or both negative. Because 16 here is positive, and those are the numbers I'm trying to add to, I want 2 positive numbers from my list. So I'm only going to list the positives. The numbers that multiply to 28 are 1 and 28, 2 and 14, 4 and 7. The pair that add to 16 look like it's going to be 2 and 14. So I'm going to use those in my splitting the middle. The first term, 4d squared, comes down. The 7 comes down. And I split the middle with 2d plus 14d. Well, you now have 4 terms. And when you have 4 terms, the factoring method you use is grouping. So we group the first 2 terms together and the last 2 terms together. From the first group, it looks like I have a 2 in common and a d in common. So I'm going to pull out 2d from both terms. When I factor out a 2d, 4 divided by 2 is 2, d squared divided by d is d. And over here, 2d divided by 2d, anything divided by itself, is 1. All right, now, the third term here is positive, so that means my GCF will be positive. The GCF for 14 and 7 is 7. I pull out a 7, and I'm left with 2d, and again, plus 1. 7 divided by 7 is 1. So you write your final answer here is 2d plus 7, those are the GCFs I pulled out, times 2d plus 1. That'd be your final answer. You can check your work here by using the distributive property. The second one, 2x squared minus 12x plus 11. First I look for a GCF, 2, negative 12, and 11. Not going to have a GCF here, 2 and negative 12 are even, 11 is odd. So I can't even pull out a 2. So I'm going to start by multiplying 2 times 11. And 2 times 11 is 22. Now I have a positive 22 that I'm multiplying to be. However, I need to add to negative 12. So when I add to negative 12, I'm going to need 2 negative numbers. Because remember, a negative times a negative is a positive. So it's still going to give us what we need. So I'll start with negative 1 and negative 22. And negative 2, negative 11. Let's see. And that's my whole list. Now I look at those numbers. Negative 1 minus 22. That gives me negative 23. And negative 2, negative 11 gets me negative 13. That doesn't seem to give me to negative 12. So what that tells me is that this polynomial is not able to be factored, and it is prime. Last one here. 3c squared minus 6c minus 24. Always look for a GCF first. 3, negative 6, negative 24 does seem to have a GCF. It has a GCF of 3. So I'm going to divide 3 out of every term. I pull the 3 out in front. And when I do that, I'm left with c squared minus 2c minus 8. Now I do split the middle as usual. There's a little invisible 1 in front of the c here. So I multiply 1 and negative 8 together. And I need 2 numbers that multiply to negative 8 and add to negative 2. When I multiply to be negative, I need a positive and a negative. So I'll start with 1 and negative 8, 2 and negative 4. And then I reverse those. Negative 1, positive 8, negative 2, positive 4. So I need to add to negative 2. It looks like 2 and negative 4 is going to work for us here. So when I factor this, I leave my GCF out in front. I don't have to move it or touch it. I split the middle. So I bring down the c squared and I bring down the negative 8. I split the middle up here with plus 2c minus 4c. Now I still group the same way. These first two are going to go together and the last two go together. Only difference is I still have that 3 hanging out in front. It just doesn't affect anything inside anymore. From the first group, looks like I can factor a c out. So I bring the c out in front, and I'll have c plus 2. The third term here is negative, so I'm going to divide a negative out of both. Looks like a negative 4. When I factor out a negative 4, I'm left with positive c plus 2. A negative divided by a negative is positive. Well, that GCF comes in front, and I'm able to write my factors from split the middle, which is going to be the c plus 2, and then my GCF c minus 4. That is your final factored form. Just like the other problems, you could check by distributive property. All right, if you have other questions, check the key on Canvas or ask your teacher for help.